All right, we live. We live. We're gonna wait for a second for everybody to come on in. Come on in. Come on in. We want to talk about this Utah game, and we see some. There are some commentators out there, some individuals that are flipping the script, that kind of changing their tune as it relates to USC. So we want to just try to put the information out there, put the numbers out there, and John's gonna give you his view. I'm gonna give you my view, and we're gonna let everything else fall into place. Come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. Wait just a second here. We got a few coming in. Come on in, come on in, come on in.
It's interesting, man, that
Come on in. Yeah, this is the end. Mr. Bigwell, how you doing this morning? This will be the first test for USC. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Uh, Come on. Somebody doesn't know what time it is. Come on in. Come on in, everybody.
it's go
Come
time.
on in. Yeah, this is I agree. KB17 Keith, what's going on? I agree. This is a very interesting game, Mr. Bigwell. I agree with you. This is the first. I'm not going to say the first test. I'm not. I can't discredit Washington State. That is one. That is an incredibly defensive line. That was a very athletic defensive line. So I'm not going to discredit them. And we're going to talk about it though. We're going to talk about this game. We're going to try to break it down as much as possible and give you guys what we expect. John, how's it going this morning?
Hey, man, I'm feeling strong, very confident about what we got going on going into this weekend. It is a hostile environment. For those of you who aren't aware, but Utah, that culture out there, it's a little bit, it's a little bit suspect sometimes with the moral integrity from time to time. I remember being in that stadium and there was some pretty derogatory slander being thrown about in the stands by some of the fans. And I can't say that I've heard any of the students themselves saying some of the kind of negatively racially inclined comments, but it's not uncommon to hear a couple of really derogatory terms being thrown around in that stadium outside of our Coliseum, where there's just a higher level of inclusivity. There's a higher level of overall understanding for humanity. The diversity is there. I mean, Utah is not as diverse, right? And there's some cultural things that a lot of the young players are going to have to go through out there and keep their head on straight, because I promise you, somebody's going to say something extremely
Absolutely,
inappropriate.
absolutely. So I think that speaks to preparation of USC coaching staff on all levels. Not only are they going to be coaching for the game, but they're going to be coaching for other aspects, elements of the game that's going to be involved. And as a result, we're going to have to see these
Very
guys.
true.
All things have to be locked in and focused. But I think Lincoln Riley said it best. I think it was when you get ready to go out to the Oregon State game. He said it best. He says, this not verbatim, but he said, I'd rather have a team that's on the road than a team that's at home. The team that's on the road is going to be the team that's locked in. And so Lincoln made reference to that. And I think we're going to see a team that's going to be absolutely locked in. I think we're going to see a team that played the second half of Oregon State, Arizona State game locked in. What's your thoughts on that? And we can get into the
Yeah.
offense, and then we'll move on to the defense from
Yeah.
USC.
Excuse me, family. I've been screaming and hollering all week at some of my athletes, and so my voice is a little strained. But this is going to be not the first test of the season, in my opinion, but I think it'll be the most closest in athletic talent that we've played. So when I look across the board on Utah's team, statistically, categorically, we match up very, very even. This
Absolutely.
is kind of a 50-50 game in terms of what you see on paper with regards to stats and how each individual matchup aligns with one another's strengths. I mean, you know, Kyle Whittingham he's a defensive coach, and our head coach is an offensive genius. So that's going to be a very good battle there. On top of that, I think both of our special teams all season have had some ups and downs. Utah seems to be very exploitable in the special teams and in the kicking game, especially from a kickoff return standpoint. Like they're not covering kicks. I think they're worse than us at covering kicks, and we have not been super efficient outside of last weekend. Offensively, when I look at them, I'm seeing like some very close comparisons because I think they're like our total yards offense is somewhere around like 2,700, like 2,771 yards of total offense for us.
Right.
And Utah is very close behind us with like 2,400. 2,047 yards. That's So we both have very similar style offenses. I think they rush for about 100 yards more than us, 109 yards more than us on the season. They've got 1,209. We've got 1,100 on the button. So like again, those are very, very close comps that really on paper says, wow, this is going to be a really great game. The things that will separate us is number one is if we can play discipline, because so far we've been penalized a little bit more than them. They are a very disciplined football team. They do not make silly mistakes that are like self-punishing types of outputs in the game. They really, really do well on penalties. Like they only have like 267 yards of penalties, and I think they, according to my notes, they got 32 total penalties on the season. We have 38. You know, I will say some of those penalties were a little bit questionable, right, with some of our officiating, and but we've given up 375 yards total this season in penalties. And so what I want to lean on is if we get an abundance of penalties in this game, it's going to be very challenged to overcome that in this environment. Rice-Eccles Stadium is as hostile a place as the athletes are going to be in, just because of some of the things I referenced earlier, but also the fact that their precious Utah team is now fighting for their season.
Right.
And if they lose this game, they can kiss it all goodbye. No Pac-12.
Right.
They're not going to go into a very strong bowl game. Definitely, they're probably already out of the college playoff picture. But to reinvigorate their season by knocking us off, and right now we're the golden child, right? That is everything that they want, and their coach is lining them up for that.
Man, absolutely right. And my stress level is beginning to hit the ceiling right now. And, because I understand, like, to your point, they've only had one conference loss, which is UCLA. And so at this point, to make it to the Rose Bowl wouldn't be a failure. It really, in their eyes, the Rose Bowl, we all still know it is the granddaddy of them all. And to make that game will still be a great victory. And in their eyes, they're looking at it from the perspective of, look, let's win out. If we win out, we can take care of our business. We can essentially hold our own destiny. Somebody, in their mind probably may knock off UCLA, whatever the case may be. But so they're going to do this is really their Super Bowl this Saturday. And we can expect some serious fireworks going on. But we got to expect a locked-in team. And to your point, as far as the numbers, you mentioned 2,700 averages per game. USC averaging per offense per game is 461 yards, 0.8. And then Utah is 457.8. So you see, it's a matter of just a few yards. I mean, when you're talking about similar teams, I mean, they're so similar in some of the numbers. And when we look at the offenses, Caleb Williams, well, I'll start with him. Caleb Williams, he's averaging, his yards up to now is 1,768 yards, 17 touchdowns. Cam Rising is 1,688 yards, 16 touchdowns. So you see that these are very close quarterbacks, and they're averaging about 40-some yards, 40 points per game, and USC's averaging a little upward of 40 points per game. So it's very, very close. And I think what can possibly separate us, because if you go back and look at the UCLA game, UCLA, when you look at time of possession and all that stuff, UCLA, let's see, Zach Charbonnet, he rushed for, where is it at? He rushed for a career high of 198 yards.
He had almost 200 yards.
He had 198 yards on Saturday, last Saturday. And I said to myself, they just put out a list the other day, which was top 5 offensive lines up to now. And USC was in the top 5. So I think when we break down this game, I think we got to break it down. We got to literally kind of go from piece by piece, position by position, and look and see where exactly each category, each position, is up to this point. And I think when you look at the offensive line, USC with it just coming out, PFF just put it out, top 5 offensive lines. And if UCLA can rush for 198 yards, well, Zach Charbonnet, I think total yards is like 200 and some yards they rushed. I think Travis Dye, that offensive line, coupled with Austin Jones, Riley Brown, even throw Darwin Barlow in there, I truly believe we can push their defensive line around. I think their defensive line is not as advertised and what they used to be. But right. I think we have to control the clock with our running as well. What's your thoughts on that?
Man, I couldn't agree more. Big bro. It's interesting, so far we've been doing a really great job of controlling time of possession. But I think overall as a team, Utah has about 3 minutes more on an average of controlled time of possession than we do. So they're averaging 33 minutes a game of holding the ball. And that's a sign of a very regimented and structured offense. Now, the thing that really shocked me is when I started diving into this team, Utah, they actually score a little bit more than I thought. They score a little bit more than I knew of, and more than what I thought their games were depicting. So they're averaging 40.3 points a game.
That's it.
And we are averaging 40.2
points
a game. So if you're looking at like these micro nuances of like how competitive this game really can be, this can be like an epic classic. My goal and my hope and aspiration for our team is we come out with so much focus and poise that we really perform at the level of our athletes. Last week, we dropped too many passes. I think that will hurt us. They have a couple of really bright stars on their defense. They really do. They have 2 or 3 guys on their offense that can go off at any given week. Can be an NCAA type player of the week. But I do believe that overall, our team tempo, if we bring that energy, I think we can stun that crowd. I think we can shock those guys and give them very little to cheer about, particularly with the rushing game. They are not as stout as they were a few seasons ago and as we're accustomed to, but they do really play well at home.
They do.
They are 18-1. 18-1 at home over the last several seasons. And the only loss that they had at home, this is at home, 18-1, guys. The only loss they did have at home was the 2020 pandemic year where USC went down there, beat them at home. It was their first game of this season because they had some weird COVID issues with their squad, so they kept missing games. And we went down there and we beat them. Now here's the interesting thing about that. Number one, they got a bitter taste in their mouth. They want that win back at home.
Right.
Number two, they felt like we got over because it was their first game of the season. Number three, their coaches are brainwashing them, or at least trying to tell them that we're not a real football team, that all of our squad is purchased through NIL, through the collective. Our whole team is a bunch of guys, like an all-star team, paid for by the highest bidders. And we don't have a real cohesive team or good coaching or good culture and all of this stuff. So what they're believing is you guys are you're the true blue team that we built from scratch. And from your freshman year, you guys are here now. We're a family. Those guys are a bunch of outlaws that they've hired, a bunch of bandits, and brought them together. And now they're going to come in guns a-blazing in and try to take over your town. So this is the jargon that they're trying to spit. Also, in my opinion, creating an excuse to, if they lose the game, well, we lost the game to an all-star team. This is
right. It was making it already, putting it out there.
right. And
putting it out there.
And not to mention, this guy has how many players from the transfer portal?
Well, his quarterback came from Texas, Cam Rising. He came from Texas.
It's interesting, isn't that?
And then when we beat them in 2020, they had a quarterback that came from South Carolina by the name of Jake Bentley.
And their star running back, wasn't it?
He was from South Carolina as well. Yes. So it's but it was kind of interesting to me that he even made those comments. He threw those comments out there, and it's like, okay, he was almost making an excuse. if they happen to lose. He would just kind of had that in his back pocket just in case.
Interesting, right?
So getting back to USC, well, Utah rather. You mentioned about their numbers are kind of surprising, and we're gonna try to get to these questions in between. When you look at UCLA and Utah's game, they had total drives. Utah had 10 drives. UCLA had 12 drives. Total yards was 502. These numbers are kind of surprising. 502, and then Utah was 479. Utah averaged 6.2 yards a play, and then UCLA averaged 8.2 yards a play. And per rush, UCLA averaged 5.3 and Utah 4.9. Time of possession, Utah had it for 33.5 minutes. UCLA had it for 26 minutes. So it's like they had the ball way longer than UCLA. That's kind of surprising to me.
And they had 31 first downs in that game.
So it's like wow. I mean, what did they not do right to make it happen like that?
They gave up too many 20+ yard plays. They had I think over 7 to 8 over 25-yard plays.
Yeah.
So those big explosive plays that UCLA were and really hats off to the Bruins. I gotta give them their flowers when they come and really mop a team that was spoken of supposed to destroy them, and they came and really, really shocked those guys at home here in LA. So shouts out to UCLA. I really got to give them credit, and their quarterback played like he definitely was ready to get all his licks back from over the years of getting beaten by that team. But what I will say is Utah in that game showed a propensity to give up very explosive plays. Game planning and scheming can beat this team. Offensively, we keep our quarterback clean. We allow him to operate and manage the ball game the way Caleb does. I believe also that we will pose a similar type of threat. It's a dual threat type of quarterback that looks to pass first, but also has the ability to run. That seems to be the kryptonite of the Utes, because
absolutely
the Florida quarterback, AJ, is it AJ, right? His first name.
Yeah. He was pretty successful running on them.
It's a look to pass first, but if there's nothing there, I can use my legs to make plays.
Yeah.
Second level decisions with the ball. DTR was the same way, and I also believe that our quarterback Superman has the same kryptonite.
Yeah.
Which is, hey man, we gonna look to find our guys open, and if not, I have the ability to skedaddle.
Yeah.
And that's what looks to be their struggle points.
Absolutely. And somebody asked a question here. Any thoughts on Caleb? This is Keith. Any thoughts on Caleb staring down the receivers? Those balls on the first downs are putting us behind the sticks.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
So I do have thoughts on that. It shows that we still have a true sophomore quarterback. This is his 14th college football game, I believe, as a starter. There's still a learning curve. I do believe that the way he stares down receivers also helps him open up passing lanes. Becoming running lanes for him.
Yeah.
So the longer he stares at a receiver, the more the defense shades to that area. Now, if he throws the ball, that could be a challenge.
Yeah.
Right? But if he holds it and tucks it and goes, he can create a lot of space on the other side of the field.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that I believe as he begins to like micromanage his abilities and watch more film, they can utilize that as a strength offensively and create a lot of misdirection plays where his eyes lead the defenders away from where they really want to attack. I think it's just something we have to develop and nurture as he continues to progress.
Yeah. And it's a difference between staring down and telegraphing. Telegraphing is when you actually have the ball, you getting ready to throw the ball, and the receiver, because we don't want to. One thing about it, that Clark Phillips, he's a heck of a player. We're gonna move on to the defense in a second, but we don't want to telegraph a pass with this guy, because he will jump the pass and try to attempt to pick that thing off.
Yeah, so Clark Phillips, for those of you who don't know, he's their star cornerback, and he's probably the most explosive playmaker on their defense, in my opinion. I think he's leading the country in INT.
Yeah.
Six. 5 or 6 interceptions.
Yeah.
So, but that's a big ball hawk. Also, man, I got a lot of respect for his toughness. He's a
Yeah.
really, really aggressive guy. I believe he's a first-round draft pick. It should be a good matchup with our receivers versus him. And I know that we're gonna game plan him up because this is the toughest, statistically the best corner we've played all season. However,
Right.
those guys
Right.
from Oregon State, I think those guys from Oregon State are a lot more.
To me, they pretty close, man. What's that? Rajon Wright? Is that his name?
Yeah,
Man, they are. I think they right there with him, man.
Gotta give Rajon his props. The thing about it is they try Clark Phillips. They try him. That's why he's getting these opportunities. Nobody throws to Rajon's side.
Yeah.
So it's a total different dynamic,
Yeah.
Like I think our Mekhi Blackman and Phillips are the same type of.
Oh, the same type of same type.
Yep.
Yep. And I think it's very underrated, even though, I just put up some deal, no fly zone with all our guys, man. You got Max Williams, Mekhi Blackman, and then you got Caleb Bullock. I mean, it's really no fly zone back there. Those guys are not allowing. I think we're ranking number 30 something in the country as far as passing yard. Here's an interesting question coming from Brian Jenkins. Should Riley change up the game plan and commit to just running the ball the entire game? I think we should run it. What's your thought?
Yeah, man. Brian, that's a great question, my guy. We should be a run dominant with the ability to pivot to whatever the game dictates. I don't want to spill the beans, but I wouldn't be shocked if I see more screens this game.
Absolutely.
Like, bring the screen game back into it with those misdirection and those eyes that Caleb can fool a guy with, leading his eyes one way.
Yeah.
Going sprint check downs and dump off screen passes. Here's what I think. I think that you have to be, because we have a true passing offense. Like, our offense is designed to throw the ball, right? It is a kind of a pass first style. But with that being said, the passing lanes open up when you're pounding the rock.
Yes.
When you're getting defenders to like play downhill and get them downhill oriented, and it sets up some of our misdirection and our play actions and some of the stuff we like to do with our RPOs and of the such. So yes, I do think we will come, but you gotta know this. You have to know that Utah fully believes that we're gonna run the ball. Why wouldn't they? If after they've given up almost 200 yards this week, and then the game that they lost against Florida, it was the same 200 yards nearly. That they think, okay, well, this is the recipe to beat Utah: run the ball, scramble the quarterback, run the ball. So you got to believe that these guys are ready to come and play a physical downhill game. So we have great offensive coordinators, and I'm just going to trust them to cook up the recipe to outlast these guys. But it's going to be a fist fight. It's going to be an arm wrestling match the whole game. And then there will be 2 or 3 plays that really definitively change the outcome and the trajectory of the ball game. There's going to be a play that when we talk about this on Sunday after the game, we're going to say, remember those 2 plays? This play, and this play led to the outcome.
Yeah.
That was the ball game. Hopefully the refs don't get involved too much.
Absolutely. And to piggyback on your point, I think if we continue to pound that ball, run, I think it's going to open up a lot of lanes. And not only that, I think we can control the clock that way. I think we're going to have success running the ball. I think our offensive line can move them around. And the fact that Charbonnet did what he did, I think that's the blueprint. And coincidentally, to this question here, DM49, he says this. He says, everyone in the media is expecting USC to lose this tough Utah defense. So everyone is having amnesia now from last weekend. And it's crazy because, to his point, I heard I'm not even gonna name his name, but there was an analyst on a famous analyst, and 4 weeks ago he said the blueprint to beat USC to beat Utah was to run the ball, and the kryptonite, kind of what you're saying, is to have a running quarterback. And we have both of those things. We're successful at both of those things, and our offensive line complements that as well. But the fact that he comes back yesterday, I think it was, and posted something, I think Utah's going to do this. And so he essentially flipped his whole comments. And so I'm like, wait a minute. I posted it on my Instagram. You probably seen it, John. I posted it because I'm like, wait a minute. We're not going to allow you to change the blueprint This is the blueprint, I believe, to be Utah. That's run the ball, and I don't think we need to force anything.
You be
What's your thought?
brother. You will be shocked at what these people, these commentators and all these analysts and everybody who doesn't have to play the game and everybody who doesn't get to be in the locker room, everyone who doesn't understand what our coaching staff is teaching our athletes. But like, here's the thing. Alex Grinch right now is on pace to become the coordinator of the year. Right? Like,
I mean, literally.
he's it's just him and one other guy. And I think that award, I think it's called the Broyles Award. It goes to the best assistant coach of the year, right? Usually, often it goes to like some type of a coordinator.
Yeah.
We have a guy on our coaching staff that actually won that award in 2015. His name's Lincoln Riley. In 2015, he helped the team that he used to play coach for. He was an assistant coach, an offensive coordinator, actually, in 2015. And you know, that award only gets nominated to teams that are projected to win out a season. That award only goes to teams that are abundantly successful. That award and the nominees for that award, the Broyles Award, is only given to those who the college football world believes are on a trajectory to be a top 5 or top 3 team in the country. So, with that being said, if the voting committee who are looking to find their next Broyles Award recipient are considering our very own Alex Grinch to also be in the conversation that the head coach now has already received that prestigious award, and our defensive coordinator is in line to receive that award based upon the first half of the season productivity. Guys, you guys got to read in between the lines. These guys are seeing USC is doing something that is unprecedented. We're leading the nation in 2 of the biggest and most challenging statistical categories in the country. Number 1, we're leading them in sacks, pressures on the quarterback. We are leading the nation in sacks. Yes, we are. This defense that's supposed to be so terrible, right? Not only that, we're leading the country in turnover margin with plus 14. Plus 14 takeaways. Now, we are the only team, the USC Trojans, the USC defense, under first-year defensive coordinator Alex Grinch, under first-year head coach Lincoln Riley, a team that's supposed to be getting dogged by everybody. We are averaging 18 points a game, giving up under 20 points a game average. We haven't given up more than 30 points this whole season. And not only that, but we are the only team in the country that has a double-digit positive turnover margin. The only team. There is no other team that has plus double digits in turnovers than us. So I don't want to hear anybody talking anything about our defense. I don't want to hear anybody saying anything about what our defense cannot do until they're proven that they cannot handle the pressure of outlasting a team that has outscored us. I don't want to hear nothing about it. And the awesome thing is we're also 6th in the nation in red zone defense. We're 6th in the country in points allowed in the red zone. That is considered phenomenal coming off of what we were in the past 5 years.
Totally agree.
Think about this, guys. We got to give people their flowers when they deserve
Totally
it.
agree.
And you know, the season's not over. It's just I think, what is this, the 7th week that we've been playing. And there's a whole lot more football to go. But I know we got the number 1 sack leading defensive lineman in the nation with Thule. He's got 7. I think Nick Figueroa has 2.5, something along those lines. I believe Solomon Byrd has another 2.5. We got Tyrone
Taleni.
He's got 2.
Yep.
You know, Eric Gentry has 1. I think Shane has 1. Bro, we got guys all across the boards that are contributing. It's not just one dominant dog that's so unstoppable. It's the entire unit. It's the entire unit.
The entire unit. Not to mention the defense is leading the whole country, believe it or not, with 29 takeaways. Can you believe that one? Can you believe that one? So, and we're gonna get into the defense. Travis Dye on the season, just wrapping up with this offense. Travis Dye on the season has 571 yards, 6 touchdowns. Austin Jones, 213 yards, 3 TDs. Jordan Addison, 32 receptions, 479, 6 TDs. Mario Williams, 22 receptions, 348, 4 TDs. And looking at Utah, Tavion Thomas only has 386 yards, 5 TDs. So I don't, I thought that he rushed for, and look, when you look at a running back like him, he's kind of equivalent to hip size wise. He's like what, 230, 6'2", 230. I think his size wise equivalent to the running back at Oregon State was 6'2", 226. So it's the same type of running back. And he did not just go crazy on us. He had a couple of runs, but he didn't just go crazy. So I think we need to factor that in and really realize what USC did to some of these teams that had, good running games. What's your thoughts on that? If we can shut that down.
I really agree. I think small little scat backs are more likely to give us more problems than big backs, big downhill power, thunder runners. I don't see us getting out physical. I don't see us getting bullied.
Right.
You can't name a time where we're getting bullied off the ball. Sometimes we miss or we run past our lanes, we run past our gaps, or we may get slightly moved out of our gaps. Sometimes I've seen us hit the wrong gap. I've seen us be held to no calls, and that led to an explosive play. I haven't seen offensive linemen take our guys and just punish us and drive us 5, 6, 7 yards back and create these giant lanes for running back. That's not what's happening. When we give up big explosive runs, it's usually because somebody missed a gap. Someone missed an assignment. And those are self-inflicted wounds that are coachable. You cannot coach whether your players are not strong enough to hold their spots. You cannot really coach whether the player is getting dominated by a bigger, stronger, more capable interior lineman. It's hard to coach that because you only got what you got, right? But you can coach effort. You can coach intensity. You can coach enthusiasm. You can coach ingenuity, knowing where you're supposed to be. You can coach a feel for the game where, hey, this is the tendency that they usually like this type of a scheme. Those are things that are within our control as a defense. That is why I love Alex Grinch. He said a comment that was so cold and I loved it. He was like, yo, all I hear is everybody talks about defense scheme this, defense talent that, 5-star this, 5-star that, big size this, big guy that. He goes, look, man, this is what I teach our guys. And I'm so compelled by this because I really believe in this. And we're going into this, believe it or not, we have the winning record, but we are the underdog in this fight, especially because they're at home and there's different types of energy at that stadium. But this is what Alex Grinch said that had me like, I love this guy. I really rock with this dude. He said, we run an effort-based defensive scheme.
Absolutely.
He said, everything that we do, we don't care about the talent. We don't care about the scheme or putting, it has to be done this way or this way. No. He says there's no such thing as a great talent without great effort.
Absolutely.
How talented the player is, the guy needs to play with exponential effort. And then he also doubled down on that and he said something like, there's no scheme that's ever going to make up for effort.
Absolutely.
So when I hear a coach that speaks like that, I said he's teaching these athletes how to play within the parameters of something they can control. They can control their effort. They can control their enthusiasm. They can control their belief on, I got to get to the ball no matter what. I got pancake here. I got to get up and scramble and work back to the ball. Okay, I got to get that extra punch. I got to take those extra 5 drive steps. I got to finish this play with great effort. Those are the things that he circles on the board. Play with effort, play with enthusiasm, play with a spirit, and everything will make up for itself. And we will game plan you to put you in the right positions, put you in the right gaps, and overcome the other things that the country says that we struggle in.
Absolutely.
Everything that the country says we struggle in seems to be things that we're beating everyone else in the nation.
And you're absolutely right. And I love what you said about Alex Grinch, because you could you hear people talk sometime and you listen to the interviews, but when he talks, it's like you can actually feel what he's saying and he means what he says. Yeah, and as a result, you're not going to get these guys that are, Lincoln said it before, that are 5 stars, and just because they're 5 stars, we've had that in the past. You put them out there, and once they get out there, there's no real production because of the 5-star status. But he wants to see if you're a 2-star, if you got more production than a 5-star, you're gonna put these guys out there because you know that they're gonna give everything that they have, and it's going to work well with the scheme that I have. And so coincidentally, Tui's a 3-star. Tui's a 3-star, and he is just balling out right now. So yeah, absolutely, I totally agree with that. To get to your question, we're gonna move on to this defense. Keith said, any thoughts on the personal foul, targeted penalties? He says, I agree with we need to protect the players, but it's time to get rid of the ejections and the suspensions. And to Caleb Bullock, I don't think that was a targeting penalty.
No.
What's your thoughts on that question?
Yeah, man, it was a great clean hit in regards to Kalen Bullock. He did everything he was supposed to do. He didn't leave his feet. He didn't launch. He lowered his shoulder pad. He got his head across, and they said that he led with his head. When I saw him get his head across to present his shoulder pad, he didn't drive the runner into the ground. It was just a collision on a great break, and I don't think anybody in that stadium, including the Utah side, was outraged. The matter of fact, the receiver got up smiling, saying, "Man, that was a good hit."
Yeah.
And the thing is you get these refs who want to limit these athletes' opportunities to be successful, and it's already challenging enough to play this game at a high level and be competitive, but it's impossible to play it under these kind of the microscope of the rules that they have created that work against defenders. It's very challenging. It just is. So I don't know. Hopefully they review it and give the 15-yard penalty if that's what you want to do, but stop ejecting guys. Stop suspending guys, because you don't know that when you remove them from this field, you're taking away their opportunity for livelihood.
Seriously.
You're
crazy.
Like, I could see you eject a guy for like viciously punching someone, starting a fight, headbutting someone. That's ejection worthy. But if a guy's running to make a good play and he didn't launch his feet, he didn't spear, he stepped through, he ran through, and he didn't even follow through the hit.
Right.
He just dropped his shoulder on a 5'7" receiver, and he's 6'3". Had he not got low, that receiver could have put his head right in his chest plate, broke his sternum,
all the way,
hit him in the face, and knocked him out of the game. Like, what are you guys thinking? Understand physics if you want to throw a flag. It's physics. This is not volleyball. This is not basketball. This is not a contact sport. Football is not a contact sport. This is a sport of high-speed collision. And if you want to be the hammer, you got to drive the nail. If not, you will be the nail, and you will get smashed by somebody on national television, hurting yourself, hurting your team, limiting your opportunities, and putting out bad product for your future prospects.
Absolutely. I think if they refereed and if they were judged on a point system, and even though they made a call in the game, because a call can change the whole trajectory of a game, but even though they made a call of the game, I think if they make a call, even though they made the call, they go back and review the call. If they review it and the call looked like it wasn't a targeting, I'm talking about after the game, they need to be docked their pay. That's what I think about it, because there'll be more thinking about the fact that, look, I don't want to lose my money. I mean, that's a whole nother show we can do about, but
that'd be awesome. Accountability. They don't answer to anyone.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Guys, they have zero accountability, man. They can throw a flag and completely impact somebody's career, completely ruin somebody's career and the success of somebody's season. And these are humans. Name one human that doesn't have bias.
Yeah.
Every human has bias. Every human has a preference. Every human has favoritism. It's how we're built innately. We lean towards those that we like more. And if you are the type of guy that doesn't like this type of team, you're going to lean towards that other squad, even if you don't even recognize it. Your eyes are searching for a reason to find fault. It's just human nature. So for those guys to be able to make calls unattested, uncontested, unchecked, without going through it like a summary board where it's
Right.
like, look, let's review this and see if it was malicious, if there was ill intent. Let's check it out. If it's target, all right, he hit him with his crown. Okay, he did. Penalize him 15 yards. Why eject the man?
I mean, seriously.
Why suspend the man? That is extra and it's excessive and is one of the things that's systematic, that's oppressive to athletes. It really is.
How do you not review? My thing is, how do you not, after we watched the review, after I watched it on TV live, after they did it right there, how do you not see that it's not target? I don't get that. That's crazy.
Because the rule is if the crown of your helmet or the front part of your helmet or face mask, if your helmet, the crown of your helmet or face mask touch another player's face mask, it's targeting. No matter what.
I don't even remember. I thought I seen his shoulder.
His shoulder hit the receiver, but the receiver's face mask got hit like this by the top of his helmet as he dropped his shoulder. But the thing is the man is 6'3".
It's crazy. Yeah.
5'7" guy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like, take physics into account. Take geometry into account when you're doing this. Use critical thinking skills as hopefully a qualified adult professional,
right,
who has somebody's well-being in hand. If the receiver was out and unconscious and laid out on the field, you could say, hey, let's review this and really check this out.
Right.
That could have been more malicious than we thought in real time. And then what they said was because the receiver was defenseless. So what they would prefer is that same safety coming 17 to 20 miles an hour, go and dive at that guy's kneecaps instead. That's what they're telling us that we need to do.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Just break his knees. Blow his kneecaps off like landmines so the guy can never play again. Like, come on, man. What are you saying?
It's crazy.
What are you saying? Yeah. That was a great question, man.
That was a good question, man. You almost took us to the promised land there, man. Hey, so moving on, Ruben says, what's up, fam? I'm listening while vacuuming out my car. He says, I'm Army life, bro. Hey, listen, man. Ruben, appreciate your service, man. Appreciate everything that you do, man. Fight on. So moving on, we're gonna move on to the defense. And when we look at the defense now, USC is allowing 17, averaging wise, 17.6 points per game, 323 total yards per game. And of course, Eric Gentry, he's leading the team right now with 43 tackles. That's a lot of tackles. And then Mekhi Blackman, you mentioned it as well. We lead the nation right now with 12 INTs. And then Mekhi Blackman, he has like 4 pass breakups and 2 picks. So he's absolutely balling out. USC defense is very, very, very underrated for the things that they do. And we mentioned that. And any thoughts on that before we move on to Utah's defense?
Yeah. So what I'll say is, for anyone who can't find it within themselves to actually respect this defense for its productivity, is they're a fool. They're not only are they a fool, but they're liars. Because the statistics don't lie. The numbers don't lie. People do. People lie all the time. And you lie with your perceptions, your self-beliefs. You lie with even your own expectations. Most humans lie all the time. And I'm here a lot of lying about this USC defense. The USC defense is just not good. Look at them. They're giving up this many 100 yards a game. Okay, how many points did those yards lead to? How many losses did those yards given up contribute to? How many blowouts have the USC defense folded under? I'll answer that question. 0, 0, 0. We haven't proven that our defense does not work. We have not. We've proven, just like every other team in this country, that any offense can create an explosive play on any given game. We've proven that, yes, the other team prepares well as we do. Yes, the other team has great athletes as well. So for us to expect defensively that we're going to just completely dominate everybody in the country and never allow any yards, it's completely dishonest. And to hold anybody to that standard is fake, because I saw Georgia almost get whooped and give up way too many yards.
Way too many.
I saw Alabama twice this season go through the same thing. I've seen multiple teams who are ranked above us almost get their butts kicked because.
But they don't place no emphasis on that. It's like it never happened. You know, Georgia against Missouri, Alabama twice against Texas A&M against Texas. You know, it's like, I mean, really.
Yeah, but they say they play tougher competition. They play a tougher schedule. Hey, let's name some of those names of the squads they play. But
Missouri,
USC has played no one ranked, so you guys are giving up all those yards on non-ranked opponents. Okay.
And and when we talked about this before, that is a strategic move. They rank these teams to benefit these guys. And as a result, USC doesn't even have anybody that they look like. I tell you, Washington State should have been ranked 3 weeks ago. UCLA should have been ranked 3 weeks ago. I mean, Oregon State should have been ranked when we played them. They were 3-0. I mean, they are full of crap. And we understand that this is all about the SEC bias that they have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna here's a question. Marcel, he says, do you have a Spotify or do you have a podcast on Spotify? That's something that I mentioned to you before. Well, me and John kind of talked about that. I think, Marcel, to your question, we're going to talk about that, trying to make this, when we're doing this live, it can also be on Spotify, especially on Sundays and Thursdays as well. We're going to try to make that happen. We're going to figure out the logistics of that stuff. Any thoughts on that, John?
It's a lot of nuances to that. But the thing is, guys, here's the truth, man. Here's the truth. Hey, if you can hear me, turn your volume up. If you can see me, look at me, please. We love you guys. You are our family. And we couldn't do this without you, man. We love you all, every single one of you. And this is
absolutely
a family show, man. We keep our content clean. Hopefully it's edifying, it's uplifting, and it's authentic. Like, the information that we're giving you are not just made up things or hypotheticals.
Right.
Speaking from one personal life experiences. I played in the Cardinal and Gold. Here's my resume right here on these fingers, and all these scars and bruises to prove it. Big brother Jay, he is one of the most insightful, genuine, down-to-earth humans in this game. He studies diligently, and we compare notes multiple times a day. There is not a day that goes by that we don't fellowship with one another, sending one another notes and contacts, and we get so fired up. We get so fired up about the time that we get to spend with you. Matter of fact, I reconstructed my entire life schedule so that we can be here with you guys, because I love you. And man, I want to see this thing grow, man.
And let me say this. I think I can speak for John when I say this. I didn't get into this for money. I don't need the money. John, John the same way. I love USC football. You understand? I love USC football. I love to defend USC football. Yes. That is why USCJ is here. I want to defend. I'm sick and tired of the SEC. All them coaches is lost in the sauce, hating on each other over there. They all lost in Alfredo sauce. They lost in Pace County sauce. They lost in every sauce that you could think about. And they understood that when USC gets ready to come in the mix, they understood what's about to get ready to happen. So they all got lost in the face. You know, so that is why we got it. That is why we both got it. That is why we got into this. So we're going to continue on the defense. Every time I say that, John gets lost in the sauce big time. John is lost in all the sauce right there. So Marcel, I appreciate that. We're gonna get it rolling, man. We're gonna get it rolling, man. USC 16 says bend no break. I can speak for John when we both say that. Both of us never got into this for any type of fun or anything. You will never see that on here asking for anything or none of that, because that's not what we're here for. We're here to give you the commentary. We're here to talk about USC football and really put a magnifying glass for all those who are lost in the sauce, big time. So anyway. Moving on to the defense. Oh, you want to say anything on that, John?
I'm trying to keep my professionalism, bro. You got me. Listen, hey guys, true story. The first time I heard USCJ, it was about maybe close to 4 to 6 months ago. His content just popped up, and I was just listening. I think I may have been doing dishes, like just and I said, let me throw on some stuff, and you just popped up. It just randomly popped up. Lord knows I didn't search for it. It just popped up in my YouTube feed. And I was listening to USC updates and alerts. I was excited about the upcoming season, and I wanted to hear about how our recruiting campaign was going. And you popped up, and you said something. You said something. We about to get moving and grooving. USC, you gotta get off the. You better get on the boat, or I'm throwing away the ticket. Don't get lost in the sauce. Don't get lost in the sauce, in the teriyaki sauce, the Alfredo sauce. I started cracking up then, and to this day, every time I hear it, it just tickles me because it takes me back. It takes me back to that moment where I felt the connection with you, brother. Where I felt the connection with the authenticity about what you're doing. And man, I do be getting lost in the sauce, man. I'll be in the ranch, dipping sauce, honey mustard sauce. It's just man.
Somebody hit me in my inbox the other day. They said, look, I'm not gonna dwell on them too much, but they said Oklahoma's lost in that old Hickory barbecue. The old Hickory barbecue sauce, but that's a whole other story. I said I can't remember who sent me that, but that was a whole other deal. But anyway, we're gonna close it out. Let me get these numbers for the defense real quick. So I went through USC, and they ranked 33rd nationally in pass defense, 6th in opposing red zone. I mean, we stopped everybody in the red zone. And here's another important stat. USC shuts everybody down in the second half. Everybody gets shut down in the second half. And one thing I wanted us to think about this as well. Oregon State offensive line is really kind of comparable to the Utah offensive line. Yeah. When we're looking at, going up against them, how's our D line going to match up against them? I think that our D line is going to be okay. I think that these guys are starting to gain more and more confidence, especially what Thule did. How can you not have confidence after having 4 sacks? I mean, his confidence is probably shooting through the roof right now. So any thoughts on that, John?
Yes. So I do think that our defensive line I think we can get a lot of penetration. I think we can make Cam Rising try to play above his pay level, and I think we can get him to make bad decisions with the football. Like UCLA did the same thing. I think he fumbled on a very critical drive and he threw a pick 6, right? Didn't he throw a pick 6 in that game?
Yeah, he did. In UCLA game?
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was a pick 6.
It wasn't a pick 6. It was I think he threw a pick and he fumbled.
He had an INT.
And if I'm wrong, please forgive me. I didn't watch the game. I just looked at the highlights and listened to the stat lines. I couldn't find myself watching the game because I didn't watch it because I didn't want to see any bias. I didn't want to hear any bias. I'm going to look at the numbers at the end of the game and then do my comps. But what I'll say is I do know this. But I did have somebody. One of the Big Brother Kumasi was there, and he told me, "Hey man, we can run the ball on these guys."
Yeah.
Utah does not look like they can handle us when we rush, and it looks like our defensive line is going to eat out there. And I said, okay, that's good to know. And this is coming from one of our soldiers who's boots on ground in the stadium. He was rooting for Utah in that game because he has some brothers that he mentors that are on that team.
Yeah.
So I believe and I trust his wisdom and his insight. This is going to be a competitive game. The truth is Utah doesn't play as well away as they play at home. When they're defending their home turf, it's a problem. It's a real problem. We can't overlook it. This is going to be a battle. The crowd is going to be super loud. We have to execute. We can't get rattled. I do believe that we had a higher level of emphasis with crowd noise going into this week of practice. I know that our practice, we brought in really loud speakers and pumped in artificial sound and noise while our offense was operating, so as to get the athletes prepared to not be able to communicate verbally on the field. They're going to have to use a lot of hand signs. You'll probably see a lot of them checking their wristbands this week and getting in the line quick because I think Utah might try to play with a little aggressive tempo. And and that crowd noise is really something that can punish a player who gets rattled. So yeah, that was a long-winded answer. I know we're wrapping up, but I just want you guys to really know and believe that I do think that our young men are not going to easily fumble this bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be a competitive game, though.
It's going to be a competitive game.
Really.
And to wrap it up, I'm going to give you some more quick these numbers, and then John, you can have your last words and prediction. Then I give my prediction. Utah, they're allowing 19 points per game, 315.8 yards. However, they did struggle, like we did mention earlier, against Florida and UCLA, surrendering like 7.6 yards in those two games alone. That was the average, 7 point per play, 7.6 yards per play. So yes, I think that is the kryptonite, the running quarterback. And I think if we kind of combine that and try to keep a balanced offense, control the clock, I think we could come out strong. One more note, Clark Phillips, yeah, he does have 5 interceptions the past two games. Yeah. The past 2 games, and they both were scores. So, but the wide receiver group is kind of suspect since what's his name? Keithy, he went down to tight end. Keithy, he went down. So they are dependent on the other tight end now, and he's had success, but there's no real man as far as being the outstanding receiver. And I think Kamasi, I didn't realize Malik McClain, I didn't realize he was at Utah now. That's right. Transferred from USC.
That's correct. So that's actually the young man I was referring to who Kamasi mentors.
Yeah.
He's a Trojan. Him and his brother, those guys are some of the freakiest, most gifted athletes I've seen.
They are. Yeah, they are.
So he can be a problem for USC if he gets out. If he lose, he can be a problem.
Yeah. So that's gonna wrap it up. John, you want to give your prediction, man? What you think, man? Don't get lost in the sauce right here, John.
man, I'm not about to get lost in that sweet baby Rays, man. I'm about to.
What's your prediction, man? What's your prediction, and how do you think it's gonna work out?
I think we'll score about 28 to 34 points, 28 to somewhere around there, and I believe that we'll hold them to about 21 points.
Yeah. I'm kind of along the same line.
The highest would be 38 points on our end, I think. And just a little bit under our average. And I mean, if I scouted these guys correctly, and if we perform the right way, we should be able to keep them under 25 points.
Yeah.
It's range. The reason I can't put a harsh stamp on it is because the officials. I can never say what these officials will do, man, and giving guys home field advantage, and not only that, but just want to impact the game. USC is leaving the Pac-12. The Pac-12 in general, it does not behoove the Pac-12 to allow USC to be very successful. You guys got to know that. You got to know that there's some gamesmanship involved with this whole industry.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of like, these dudes think that they just gonna win and bounce. Okay, we have a general feeling about USC and UCLA. Because you guys started a ripple effect that is disintegrating our entire conference. Yeah. And now I feel like there's a little bit of hatred going on.
Big time.
That could be my own bias, but I know that the officiating in critical moments, it doesn't seem the same in the SEC and in the Big Ten conference. Even the ACC seems like they've got clearer lines of governing games. The Pac-12, you just never, ever know what to expect, but you can always expect some baloney. You can always expect some bull crap at a very critical moment to extend a drive that should have been stopped, to bless a player that should have been punished, or vice versa. And it's just weird. The good part is we do get our safety coming back in the game. I hope Shane Lee can play. I haven't heard reports on him though.
Yeah, I hope he can play. But we got, Randall Grover, he did step up. He stepped up big. Yeah. My prediction is going to be 31-24. I was kind of thinking of it like that. 31-24. It's going to be a little close, but I think as long as we get out of there with a win, I think that, and I really think we need to consider USC leads the country once again, 29 takeaways. We got to understand what our defense is. And I'm going to put a little bit of this in it, a little biblical in there. I'm speaking life to this team right now. Life and death in the power of the tongue. I'm speaking victory right now.
In the Father's name, in the Father's name.
So I'm going to add a little bit of that in there, being in a hostile environment. And I believe in Grinch. I believe in Raleigh. And I believe that we're going to have a victory. And so that's going to conclude this preview, USC, UCLA, USC and Utah. I appreciate everybody for tapping in.
Yes.
I'll come tomorrow with a story. I got something I had in the making for tomorrow, but I'll be back tomorrow, man. Once again, we appreciate John for tapping in. We appreciate everybody for coming through. Until tomorrow, everybody continue to fight on, fight on, fight on,
and catch you on the next one. Hey guys, flood the comments with questions that you have for our next show.
Absolutely, and that'll be on Sunday after the game.
Yes.
I'm praying that Sunday after the game.
Yeah, so go to the comment section right now and start asking the questions that you would like us to kind of build our content around. We build our shows based upon what the people want. We do consider ourselves a people show, and you guys are the source. You're the source of why we're doing this, is to connect with you all. So
absolutely. And you guys do remember, you always can hit hit me or John up Instagram or Twitter for me. You can inbox me, USCJ32 on Instagram and Twitter. You can always inbox me.
Yes, sir. And I'm John Walker Pro, JohnWalker Pro, all one letter, one word. That is on Instagram, John Walker Pro. Tap in with me.
Absolutely. Until then, fight on, fight on, fight on, fight on.
Fight on, Terry. All right, Josh.